In an entertainment world that moves increasingly fast, it takes only 3 seconds for the public to decide one thing: to like, to criticize, or to ignore. Algorithms leave no room to breathe, and the stage is no longer always a place of honesty, but of efficiency. Yet amid that current, one name continues to endure in his own way: calm, consistent, and almost stubborn in holding on to his principles. That name is Kim Taehyung. January 2026 became an interesting month for K-pop fans. Amid a wave of comebacks, rumors, and global industry movements, one piece of news emerged with little fanfare. Kim Taehyung received a nomination for Best Vocal Performance at the Mama Awards. Not as part of a group, not because of popularity, not because of voting, but purely for his vocals. For some, this may sound ordinary, but for those who understand how the industry works, the nomination carried a far deeper meaning. Taehyung has never built his career on fleeting sensations. Since his debut with BTS, he has been known as someone who chooses a path that is not always safe. On stage, he more often takes risks rather than hiding behind technology. When many modern performances are polished with heavy backing tracks and digital effects, Taehyung stands with an open microphone, audible breaths, and emotions left raw. That choice is not without consequences. Singing live means opening oneself up to mistakes. But for Taehyung, musical honesty has always mattered more than artificial perfection. That dedication did not appear overnight. For years, Taehyung has honed his vocals with a discipline that is rarely seen. The warm baritone that defines him is not merely a gift, but the result of long training, strict breath control, and a deep understanding of emotion. He does not sing to showcase technique, but to convey feeling. And precisely because of that, his voice feels so personal to many listeners. Behind all those achievements stands someone who has always been close by: Jungkook. For ARMY, their relationship has long been known as a sincere and warm friendship. But behind the jokes and lighthearted moments often captured on camera, Jungkook is one of the people who best understands how deeply dedicated Taehyung is to music. On several occasions, Jungkook has openly expressed his pride. To Jungkook, Taehyung is not only a bandmate, but a true artist who never compromises the values he holds. Jungkook has witnessed firsthand how Taehyung chooses to practice longer, repeat difficult parts again and again, and insist on singing live even when his body is exhausted after a packed schedule. There is an admiration that is not always spoken, but clearly felt in every interaction between them. He never takes shortcuts, Jungkook once said in a casual conversation he shared. To Jungkook, Taehyung's dedication is inspiring, not only as a vocalist, but as a human being who remains honest with his passion. Their friendship grows from mutual respect, and Jungkook often refers to Taehyung as someone who reminds him of the reasons they first made music. The vocal nomination Taehyung received became a moment of reflection for many fans. Instead of responding with excessive cheers, ARMY chose to listen again. They replayed old live performances, compared concert recordings, and paid attention to small details that may have previously gone unnoticed. From there emerged a collective realization that what Taehyung has been doing all along is not coincidence, but long-term consistency. Interestingly, even as admiration grew, criticism did not fully subside. Some voices continued to question Taehyung's choice to sing fully live, but this time, the response felt different. Instead of becoming defensive, fans chose discussion. They talked about the difference between polished vocals and honest vocals, about the courage to stand on stage without protection, and about artistic values often forgotten in the instant era. Amid these conversations, BTS announced major news once again: BTS World Tour 2026 to 2027. The full return of all 7 members was met with extraordinary enthusiasm. For the global entertainment industry, this tour is not merely a series of concerts, but a historic event. And for Taehyung, it is the next stage to do what he has always done: sing with his whole heart. Public attention grew even more when discussions about ticket prices began to surface. The figure circulating left many people stunned. But for some ARMY, the value is not just about watching a concert, but about witnessing a living moment. About being in the same space as a voice that cannot be faked. About seeing Taehyung stand on stage, singing as he always does, without compromise. Amid tour preparations, Jungkook once again showed his support. He was often seen paying attention to small details during rehearsals, making sure all members were in their best condition. But when Taehyung sang, Jungkook's expression often shifted into a proud smile. There was a sense of reassurance in knowing that his friend remained true to himself, no matter how great the pressure. The relationship between Taehyung and Jungkook is not about competition. They walk side by side, strengthening each other. Jungkook, with his all-around talent, and Taehyung, with his unique vocal character, complement one another. For Jungkook, seeing Taehyung receive recognition for his vocals feels like a personal victory, because he knows that behind it all lies hard work rarely captured by the camera. As the world continues to move fast, Kim Taehyung's story feels like a gentle reminder that amid advanced technology and instant demands, there is still room for honesty. That the human voice, with all its imperfections, still carries an irreplaceable power. And that friendship, like the one shared by Taehyung and Jungkook, can become a solid foundation in a high-pressure industry. Now, the question is no longer about a single nomination or a single world tour. The question is about what we choose to value as an audience. Do we still make space for artists who choose the harder path? Or are we more comfortable with frustration when that standard feels too high? One thing is certain, Kim Taehyung will continue to sing in his own way. With or without major spotlights. With or without debate. And somewhere, Jungkook will continue to stand as a proud friend, watching that journey with a sincere smile. As time goes on, attention toward Kim Taehyung is no longer focused solely on the final result on stage, but on the process that shapes him. In an industry that often demands instant outcomes, Taehyung is known as someone who respects time. He understands that the voice is not just a tool, but part of the body that must be cared for, trained, and deeply understood. Every note he produces carries traces of experience, not merely technique. For those closest to him, Taehyung's growth feels tangible. Jungkook, who has spent nearly his entire adult life alongside Taehyung, has personally witnessed his friend evolve not only as an artist, but as an individual. There have been difficult times, doubts, and immense pressure that came with global popularity. Yet Taehyung never lost his direction. He always returned to the same thing: music as a language of honesty. In practice rooms away from public attention, Jungkook often sees Taehyung repeat a single section of a song over and over, not because it is wrong, but because he wants to find the right emotional color. These small things are rarely seen by audiences, yet they are where Taehyung's dedication truly reveals itself. Jungkook once said that Taehyung is the type of person who is not satisfied with being merely good enough. He wants to be certain that what he conveys truly reaches the listener's heart. When the vocal nomination was announced, the reaction within BTS's inner circle felt calm, yet deeply meaningful. There was no excessive euphoria, no grand celebration. Instead, there was a brief silence, filled with pride. For Jungkook, the moment felt like recognition that had finally arrived at the right time, not because Taehyung chased it, but because he continued walking his own path without being tempted to turn aside. Within the highly competitive context of the K-pop industry, this achievement carries broader resonance. For years, debates about live vocals and lip-syncing have been sensitive topics. Many young artists grow within systems that prioritize visual perfection and synchronization, often at the expense of vocal spontaneity. Taehyung indirectly challenges that narrative. He proves that honesty still has a place, even on the biggest stages. Public response has slowly shifted. If criticism once came with a dismissive tone, discussions are now moving in a more mature direction. Many listeners are beginning to recognize the difference between a perfect, voice, and a living voice. In Taehyung's live recordings, breaths, slight tremors, and emotions that are not always neat can be heard. Yet it is precisely these elements that make his performances feel human. Jungkook is often seen as the first listener whenever Taehyung tries something new. There is a small habit between them. Taehyung will glance over as if searching for Jungkook's reaction after finishing a section of a song. And almost always, he receives a small nod or a faint smile, a wordless sign of approval. Their relationship is built on trust that does not need to be announced. As BTS World Tour 2026 to 2027 approaches, public expectations are at their peak. Massive stadiums, grueling cross-continental schedules, and global media attention create enormous pressure. Yet for Taehyung, the stage remains the stage, a place where he can breathe through music. Jungkook, who knows his friend's emotional rhythms well, often makes sure Taehyung does not lose balance amid the frenzy of preparation. Ticket prices, which became a hot topic on social media, add another layer of complexity. For some, the numbers are staggering, but for many ARMY, the value reflects more than concert duration. It is about witnessing authenticity, about standing before an artist who does not hide behind effects. In that context, Taehyung's voice becomes a symbol of value that cannot be measured simply. Behind the scenes, Jungkook often serves as a reminder to enjoy the process. He knows Taehyung's tendency to become absorbed in details. Their friendship provides a safe space to remind each other, support one another, and sometimes laugh at their shared exhaustion. In an industry that can feel cold and mechanical, such a bond becomes an invaluable emotional anchor. Interestingly, the greater Taehyung's achievements become, the simpler his view of music grows. He does not talk about changing the industry or making history. He only wants to sing honestly. Yet it is precisely that attitude that makes him influential. Without grand declarations, he shows that high standards do not have to be accompanied by arrogance. That consistency can be more powerful than sensation. Jungkook, as a friend, observes all of this with deep respect. To him, Taehyung's success does not create distance, but strengthens their bond. They grew together, learned together, and now reap the results in their own ways. There is a quiet pride when Jungkook speaks about Taehyung, a pride born of long-term observation, not viral moments. As the world prepares to welcome BTS's world tour, Kim Taehyung's story feels like a thread connecting past, present, and future. From small stages to massive stadiums, from late-night practices to prestigious nominations, everything forms a complete narrative of dedication. And at every stage of that journey, there is a voice that remains faithful to itself. In the end, this article is not only about one nomination or one major tour. It is about choice. The choice to remain honest under pressure, to keep breathing amid noise, and to remain human in an industry that often demands flawless perfection. Kim Taehyung, with all his calmness, shows that this choice is possible, even if it is not always easy. And on the other side of the stage, there is Jungkook, a friend who not only watches but understands, who feels pride not because of the spotlight, but because he knows the price paid for every note that is heard. Together, they remind us that behind the glitter of the Korean entertainment industry, there are still simple stories of hard work, friendship, and love for music. When stadium lights turn on and thousands of voices unite, one thing becomes clear. Kim Taehyung's voice will continue to resonate, not because it is the loudest, but because it is the most honest. And perhaps, in this overly fast era, honesty is what most deserves to be heard.